Welcome back to Roadmap, Autotrader UK's product and tech podcast. My name's Nathan, product designer, and I'll be your host for today's episode. And today we're going to be talking or diving into the world of design leadership here at Autotrader. And fortunately enough, we are joined by not one, not two, but three of the design leadership team, Warren, Tracy, and Lee. Welcome.
Hello, Nate.
We'll say, yeah, you can say hi back. Before we dive in, it'd be good if you guys could kind of give us a little bit of intro into your names, your role, and what you do here at Autotrader.
Me to go? So I'm Warren. I look after our, portfolio design lead is my title. I look after our core experiences. So that's anything to do with like our search, our product page, our finance. That's a bit of Lee actually.
Bit of crossover.
Yeah, all of those journeys. And I'm also on the design leadership team along with Tracy, Lee, George, and Carrie, who's currently away.
Yeah, we're too short today. Probably worth adding, isn't it? Yeah.
Skivers. Only joking.
Tracy?
Yeah, I'm Tracy Smith. So I've been at Autotrader now for coming up to 13 years. So quite a long time. I actually started as a front-end dev and then moved my main focus into like the design space, product design space then. And just kind of developed and grew within the organisation. And now I'm, like Warren said, I'm part of the design leadership team. My portfolio area was mainly more like retailer tool space. So the tools that our retailers use to kind of manage their stock and advertise their stock. But then more recently, I've picked up the area of internal tools as well. So this is a brand new not really brand new area because I've kind of dabbled in this space before, but as a business Autotrader, we're very much focusing on the internal tool space and our colleagues' journey as well as our consumers and customers. So that's a new thing for me as well.
Sounds very exciting. Lee?
Yeah, I'm Lee Murray. I'm a portfolio design lead alongside these two and George and Carrie. Let's not forget them. I'm a newbie compared to you lot. I've been here now just over 3 years. My portfolio is in digital retailing, so I look after that side of the business from a design perspective, and that's like where we're really trying to make it easier for consumers in the car buying business process even.
Nice. So first and foremost, design leadership. What is it?
What is design leadership?
Yeah, I think for me, it's probably at the minute it feels a bit less about design sometimes and more about the people and kind of the multidiscipline team that we help to manage and we do manage, but then also kind of drive the strategy and focus for the team. I think the people side of things is really important. So our kind of team, the culture, and yeah, so it's probably it's like design leadership team, but it's definitely all about that multidiscipline team.
Yeah, you're looking after a group of people.
Yeah,
essentially, there's that the disciplines design, but then that's where we have to come with where we come in. Really, is that it's the discipline side of it. How do we make sure we're working as design and design works well in our multidisciplinary teams, like Tracy said. But there's also a bit of a mix across that where we have some people who are less embedded in teams and have to move across projects and things. So there's a lot of moving parts to manage there, I'd say.
No, of course. I mean, I did a little bit of a count before we came in here, and I hope I've got this number right, but it's probably like 34, I think, is the...
Is that including us?
That's including.
Okay.
That's including the design leadership team as well. But yeah, I think in terms of your like roles and responsibilities, what does like a day-to-day look like then as someone on the design leadership team?
I think, I feel like it's like threefold, isn't it? We've got our people management. So we all look after different people in the team as well. So I manage 5 myself. You've got your portfolio that you look after, which is different. And that will, inside your portfolio, you've got different designers again. Some of them might cross over actually. And then there's the actual design leadership, or the DLT as we call it here. So it's your work sort of split between those 3 things really, and you're constantly switching hats, I'd say.
Yeah, it can really vary, your day to day. An example might be like every week, every Thursday, we have like a DLT design leadership session where, we might be looking at who's working on projects. Have we got the right people on the right things, to their strengths? It could go to like last Friday where, we're doing our like quarterly design day where, we just have a full day where designers might be talking about a bit of their craft and, that side of it. So really vary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think as portfolio design leads in part of the DLT, we do context switch an awful lot.
Yeah.
And we do get our kind of, I'll say, hands dirty and do design work as well when needed. So I think kind of it can be quite challenging that as well, managing all those different hats and then actually being in the detail of design work, but really, really rewarding as well.
Yeah. I think one thing that Autotrader isn't afraid of is change. I think that happens a lot. That happens, whether that's our teams, whether that's the ways of working, whether the office buildings, which, that's coming early next year, which is exciting.
Yeah.
But I think kind of casting my mind back personally to like when I left the business for a short period of time, back in 2022, early 2022, it kind of felt like that was the start of like a change that kind of manifested and became like what the design leadership team is today. So I'm really excited about this particularly because, there was a 2.5 year gap where I wasn't around. And then when I came back, design leadership and the design leadership team is what it is now. Like, what did that journey look like? How did you come to be what you are today?
Yeah, it's a bit mad really, because I don't know whether there was like a clear plan of where we've got to today. It kind of evolved. So like me and Warren were probably been here like the longest really, and we were in a really, really small team. And like we said, we've developed them into those leadership roles, and as the team's kind of grown as well, it's kind of just developed. And I think the definition of the portfolio areas, it was definitely clear, given the size of the team and everything that needed to be done, that it wasn't really kind of a head of design position, like having that design leadership and the 5 individuals who were all really different in their own right and have different skills. That was really, really important and was needed for that size of team and everything that was going on. It's interesting, we have like a design leadership offsite, a 2-day offsite as well. And I think in the early days they were key to building the relationships that we have now. Like we'll wind each other up, we have really good banter, but we really get the job done as well. And I think there's trust within that design leadership team, and that takes time to get to that point. And we're continuing on those journeys as well. Like you're right, there is change here quite often. I've just taken on a bit of a change with my portfolio. Warren has, and we adapt and change to where we're needed. So yeah, I feel like it has evolved to what the needs have been, to where we've got to today, really.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd say that. I think in the early shifts, I think there was like a lot of trust in us to begin with, because obviously we did have it was Chris was head of design at the time, and he was moving on. They came to us and asked if we would join as a team, as a 5.
Yeah.
Well, it was 4 actually, because we were just Carrie was just in the process, wasn't she? So she came a little bit after. But that was quite a shift, I think, to go between 5 people. But also we were really embedded in the team. We knew everybody. Most of them were all managed by us anyway. I actually wasn't a manager at the time as well, so that was a shift for me. So yeah, I think that was interesting to say, why is 5 better than 1?
Yeah.
And that was we had to come together and think, well, what do we think of this?
Yeah.
And also the real strengths in having the 5 over 1, which is we all have our own strengths and weaknesses and stuff, and we all support each other and pull each other down sometimes. Give each other a grilling. No, but I think I think I found that really helpful, actually, having the 5 of us to work off and bounce off, and then also having our own portfolios, so you got your deep area of expertise as well that you lean into.
Yeah, I think it was good for me, like, because did we mention that we had a head of design that left, and obviously then becoming the 5, and just having someone who's facing like similar maybe challenges to have a little bit of a chat with, like, how would you approach this kind of thing, and that side of it, and all of us having the different like personalities and take on design. I think overall it's I feel it's made us like stronger as a group and a design function as well. So it's been really good for me.
I think sorry, Nate. I think in the early days when we first joined up, I think it was important for us to like establish trust with the team too.
Yeah.
Obviously, we knew them all and we worked with them as like we were principals at the time and stuff as well, and already you guys managed some, but we were really that was going to be quite a shift and quite a change. So even they might, I'm pretty sure, would have had questions of like, well, why don't we hire someone else in you, or so we wanted to make sure that we could establish some trust and between the team. I think we had a design day quite early on, similar to what we just had this week actually at one of our quarterly meetups that Lee mentioned, and we basically just talked about ourselves quite a lot, didn't we? Just get closer to us, so people knew us, knew actually work, because we all know each other and we talk to each other. But actually, how well do we know each other?
Yeah.
How do we know our careers and where we've come from and how we've got to? Like me and Tracy have been here for some time now. So if we felt like that was important for people to know that, and I think I'd like to think that helped actually.
Yeah, feedback on that was really positive. We were just sat at the front like a bit like a panel event, and told our story a bit of personal information. It was just kind of building those relationships with the team. So I think that I forgot about that actually. That was a really good session.
Yeah,
that
sharing our vulnerabilities, I think.
Yeah,
being open.
That this was a change for us too, and that we're working it out.
So I guess for yourself then, Lee, is like Warren and Tracy said, obviously they've been here a long time. Like how were you feeling at that time? Because you hadn't long joined the business at that point?
Yeah, I think I've been here around 10 months. So, initially, like, with Chris leaving at the time, it was like, oh, wasn't expecting that. But then when we started talking about this, like how this could potentially work, you could see, like, for me, the benefits of it. I think it helps we get along pretty all right as well. I guess it was, I remember thinking, oh, it's a bit different, this, isn't it? Like a 5. I guess we haven't talked about the +2 as well, have we? It was the 5 +2. So as well as the 5 as portfolio design leads, we had 2, like, I guess, sponsors from P&T, in Ben Smith and Pete Farrell.
Yeah.
So it was good to have more like access with people like that. So overall, it was a good thing.
Nice. I mean, excuse me. I guess obviously one of the things I'd probably look at is there's 5 of yous, which is great. You talked about how you all have different skill sets and experiences. I could imagine maybe there's a flip side of that at times in terms of 5 people means there's more opportunity for conflict and disagreements. Like, how do you kind of navigate those scenarios where, you might not agree with each other or you might have different opinions on the direction?
Yeah, I think having 5 definitely takes. If there's just one, you don't need to get aligned with yourself, do you? Because it's just one person. So like Lee said, we've got our sessions on Thursday where we all come together and have like an agenda and stuff that we'll go through and talk about things. And we disagree quite a lot. But I think it's a really healthy debate. And I think we probably get to a strong position because of that, because we do challenge each other and we do have different perspectives on things and stuff. So nothing never feels personal.
No, not at all. Like me and you are often in the same space and we can have like discussions and, call each other out evening sessions, but we walk out like genuinely. But then again, I think that's that trust relationship, and that does take time to build. And I think it is like healthy debate and we don't take things personally, which is hard. It is hard not to,
imagine.
especially, it is hard. And sometimes like he'll come over to me and say, was it a bit hard then? I'm like, no, fine. It's absolutely fine. We're okay. But that's just like shows how good that relationship is. But I think as well, we keep saying trust. Like I must have said it about 20 times now, but I suppose it's having trust that we've, as a 5 in our own areas, we've got it covered. We know what's going on. Like, there is overlap there, but also being able to, if we're part of a conversation and we think, do you know what, Warren, Lee, George or Carrie should be part of this, it's actually saying that.
Yeah.
Saying, before this goes any further or before, if we're having a conversation about this, really need to get such a person in, to have this conversation. So it's kind of covering for each other as well in different ways. And again, that's just another way of building relationships and trust.
I guess as well, another thing we try to do at least twice a year is go away to have an away day. We've been going to like Peak District and a couple of days away together, out of the work kind of typical work setting. I think that's a good thing as well, helping build that trust and get to know each other a little bit better. So I think that was something we pretty much jumped on as we become a 5, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and what feeds into those away days as well is we do run like a design team health survey. You know, these things like we've got the ear to the ground. You know, if there's areas that we think within the team or that's something we want to tackle.
Yeah.
If it's like strategically thinking, you know, sometimes like even like you're a principal as well, but like I think one of the key areas for us now really that we've identified and probably will speak about is as we've moved on and the team's developed, like where do we see our principals as a group sitting? You know, how does DLT work with them?
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's something that we would take on that offsite and dig into and probably define like next steps for that for the next potentially 6 months.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you're probably touching on something that. Go on, sorry, was you going to say?
No, I was just going to mention on your question about the 5 is I think we acknowledge as well, like that can be a weakness because there is that. So if we're not tight, then that could be a problem as well. So yeah, I think it's just always being aware of that. Like the thing that makes us strong can also be a weakness as well if we. So yeah, let's keep on it.
No, definitely. I think there's a couple of things we've kind of touched on already that I'd like to delve into a little bit deeper. One of them is you've just kind of touched on that, Tracy, is around like kind of like recognizing the team. Like, so how does like kind of development? How do you recognize development and development opportunities within, you know, a team of 30 plus people? Because I imagine that's quite a difficult feat in itself.
Yeah, I think we have kind of like as line managers, we have regular one-to-ones. I think the key thing is like the quarterly reviews that line managers will do with their direct reports, and that's where we identify their areas of kind of development. Also kind of their commitments as well. So that often aligns to the project work and things like that. I think planning, we have a planning session as a design leadership team, and we bring line managers into that planning session. My days is planning difficult. Like it's hard to get a view of what's coming up, you know, when stuff's ending. You know, this is a challenge, quite a big challenge that we have. But when we're having those planning conversations and we're looking at the projects and we're saying, right, who's going to be aligned to this, that definitely feeds back into the development areas.
Yeah.
So that's a really good time where we can say, right, is this person going to be challenged enough? Will they need support through this? Who's the right person for that? So yeah, that's kind of planning aligned with the quarterly reviews and PDPs. That's probably the part where that's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's back that up as well. Say that we always have a set of commitments for everyone, but also alongside what their personal development plan is as well. And we try and align those commitments to them and make sure there's that what they're trying to achieve personally isn't at odds with also what we need to get done. So yeah, we're always pretty clear on.
Yeah, I mean that's ideal world, isn't it? You know, there's always challenges within planning, isn't there? There's always the stuff that perhaps doesn't quite align to somebody's development. But again, that's like tactical. It's like tactical planning, isn't it? You know, how do we position people around that? So yeah.
I think that is another positive of the 5 because you've got a broader view on people and things then as well, as opposed to, you know, a narrower group. So, you know, people will be working with people in different ways. You know, it might be in a guild, it might be in some design team activity, as well as perspectives from a project. So I do think you get those different perspectives a lot more, which is obviously a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because as a line manager, you don't get to see everything that's going on. As we said, you get different designers that are in different people's portfolios. So I think that having more of us, like Lee said, just means you get more of a good view of where people are up to, how well they're performing, successes, support areas and things.
Yeah, I think as well, like probably touching on like the size of the team as well, and it sounds like this is where having the 5 of you probably helps. Like I imagine part of your role as the DLT as well is kind of accumulating all the needs from design from across the business and like helping to, you know, like kind of manage that as a whole. Like how do you kind of go about like looking at the needs of design from the business and like feeding that out into individuals across the different teams? Like how does that manifest itself?
I think from a project point of view, it's like having a really good relationship with the product leads in the space, you know, being aware of what's coming up. I think we also have check-ins with like ALT as well, so individuals on the ALT as a design team, and I think that's really interesting because sometimes like it's good to know, like, understand their perception of design as well, so like, is there areas there that we as a design leadership team we need to dig into and perhaps solve or improve.
Yeah, some of it can be quite organic because obviously there's people are embedded in their teams and teams can have their own ideas and things as well, but it's also making sure you're aligned to what are the business priorities. And sometimes they're not very, we must do X. So yeah, it's like us being aware of what's coming down, but also what's coming up and making sure that they're spread and that the teams are also quite responsible, aren't they, but like Tracy said, they're product owners and deciding what their roadmaps look like, making sure it's all aligned.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be very organic at times though.
Yeah.
I think as well, like, again, something that you just touched on there, Tracy, is and I think this is probably common in any business. Like, again, like I think my time in crossover businesses has kind of shown me the same, is that, us being in the design team, we're very aware of like the different disciplines and like the value that those bring. That can sometimes be difficult to kind of show across the business. Like senior stakeholders or other stakeholders might not fully understand like the value of like content design or research or product design or whatever that might be. Like, how do you guys go about kind of making sure that design like gets it sounds cheesy, but like a seat at the table? Like, how do those kind of conversations go?
I think I mentioned an example earlier around when we're in conversations and we might say, actually, you should be bringing one of the other kind of DLT members or portfolio design leads into this conversation. That actually leads into that. It's ensuring that the right people are in the room. And I think when people see the benefit of having that individual as part of that room, that conversation, then that actually grows, doesn't it, and go out wider. But it does take longer, I think, as like you said, within the design team, we know our worth, we can be in a really good place. But then I think how we get that to kind of go across the business is something that we really work hard to do that, like I mentioned with sessions that we have with leadership. But it is challenging sometimes. We've had conversations like where design can be pointed at sometimes, it slows things down. But again, it's just ensuring that we can show what the value that people bring, all the different disciplines bring, you mentioned research and that. And sometimes, like, I think research has been on a journey here as well. I think research is in a great place now, but that's something that, we've tackled as supported from a DLT point of view. So we have not mentioned it yet, but we do have sponsors. So there's 5 of us, and we, like, in twos, we will sponsor an area. Those areas are kind of, we will pick those potentially on those offsites. For example, if we'll use research in a great place now, but to be honest, probably not so a couple of years ago. So it's like, right, well, that's where we get 2 people from DLT, we lean into that space and we support the principals within that space and, kind of work towards improving it. I think when a new discipline comes along, so a couple of challenges, content's fairly new as a discipline in design, and also more recently our UI designers as well. So I think that's a space we'll lean into a little bit more as well.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I seen a little glimmer in your eye there. I thought he's going to say something.
Probably just repeating what Tracy said. Yeah.
No, that's fine. So I think kind of maybe going a little bit more into some of your journeys a little bit more personally, like kind of obviously you have talked about kind of your journey to design leadership, but I guess kind of what were some of the inspirations for you to be, to kind of your transition into design leadership? I know you've talked around like Chris at the time was really kind of supportive in terms of he was moving on, and that was a kind of maybe a bit of a boost to you guys to kind of, step up and take on those roles. Like, is there any other inspirations?
I think for me, it's been very organic. I think I'm not, at least that's the way I see it. I don't see myself as a typically ambitious person. There's no like, I didn't grow up with,
Don't put yourself
I want to be a spaceman, So I think mine's been, I'm also dyslexic as well. So it's also, when I grew up, I always thought there'd be some sort of like ceiling on what I would be able to do or where I would get to. Yeah. So for me, it's been quite organic, getting my head down, just trying to do a good job, support teams in any way I can rather than just necessarily having my designer hat on. I think through Autotrader, that's just slowly evolved, moving teams, sometimes moving projects. Sometimes the projects are huge, sometimes they're small and there's multiple. And that's kept things fresh for me, moving around. And then slowly but surely, I think it's like when Chris come, then we moved into sort of looking after like a portfolio. I think that was relatively organic too, realizing I had quite a depth of knowledge in our sort of data and insight product space, especially on the retailer side. So getting that ownership of that space actually, and making sure I'm thinking about it across the board rather than just in like product verticals. And then slowly moving up from that point on, become a principal and then into DLT. So it's been quite organic for me. I don't think I would ever said I would be in the position I'm in, if I'm honest.
I think that's the key, isn't it? Like, I bet once upon a time I'm sure you said, well, I don't want to line manage. I'll never line manage. Yeah. And it's like never say never, because like as you develop and you progress, you do change as a person. Like for me, I think I am a people person. Like I do get a lot of reward. I think mentoring was a key point for me. I like started with mentoring people. Like that's mad because you have a bit of like imposter syndrome, don't you? And like mentoring people, what am I going to mentor? But you know, it gives you the confidence. Then you know, it's a really good first step. I think for me it was anyway, into kind of just testing the water a bit from that side of things. I think I still have moments in design leadership team where I think, am I doing a good job? Am I doing all right? You know, like it is like challenging, but I think like Warren said, it's probably felt like it's been organic for me as well. But I do think for me there was things that I felt like I was good at. Like I felt like I was good with people. You know, I feel like I'm good with stakeholders, having those conversations. You know, bridging gaps at times, and I think that does lead into kind of that, I suppose, leadership role. Like motivating people, you know, identifying people, you know, areas of development for people. So I think that's kind of just felt like the right thing for me. Which is mad to say that now, because I would never have thought I'd be on, you know, where I'm at, but that's how it goes.
I get it though, because I think, like you said, I think it's probably easy to assume that, like, you know, when you hear a role or a title like design leadership team, that it's like, you know, these are, not to say that you're not specialists in your craft, but it's like it's all about that. Where actually it sounds like a lot of it does come down to like relationships and stakeholder management and just how you like interact with people, I guess, probably plays a big part of that.
Yeah, for me, like obviously I've been more outside of Autotrader than you two, so been involved now for design probably for over 20 years. So been on the front line as a designer. I think it felt more natural going into leadership just over time, because I think you got more kind of increased responsibilities as you went along. You know, you become a manager, and I think that's just naturally evolved into that, to where I think more so in the last 8 years have been more design leadership.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd say going back a little bit about design leadership and when we first came together as a team. I think that was something that was quite different, because obviously me and Tracy have been in for some time, but then having Lee, George, and then Carrie come in with like some fresh blood, and also having their career journeys from a very different space. I think that was really helpful. Well, it was helpful to me because then I got to see them bring some stuff that I'd maybe not seen as well, and different ways of how you can do things. Because I'm very Autotrader, I guess. This is all I know.
It's in your blood.
So I found that super helpful, and I think that made the five of us a bit stronger as well. As opposed if we were all just from the same place or all external, I think it would have been very different.
I'm flipping that round though, actually, with you two, like obviously really know Autotrader. That was so helpful for me. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm sure it was for George and Carrie as well, you know, getting the understanding that like when you come into a new org, it takes a bit of time, doesn't it? So I think you two have massively helped with that.
You're welcome, Lee.
Well, we can start pulling on the heartstrings now, actually, because my next question is, I guess, what's been the most like rewarding thing about being a design leader for yourselves? Feel free to cry. It's okay.
I'm not going to cry, I don't think. I'll jump in with this one. I think might sound a bit corny, but like seeing designers grow is a good thing. And I can think back to recent examples in, the last couple of years where, we've had designers on the team that would be quite hesitant, to speak up in a group setting. Whereas over time, the complete opposite, leading a session with a group and, getting what they need, to help with what they're doing on the project. And I think that side of it, it's just naturally rewarding, and it's seeing stuff like that.
Yeah, I'd say the same. Same for me is, when I first moved into it, I came in thinking, I'm going to be the one that's more on craft. But actually that very quickly changed to like actually managing 5 people now, mentoring, also learning to become a accredited coach and stuff too. And that I think is definitely the most rewarding for me, is just helping people grow. So like Lee said, it sounds maybe a bit cheesy, but it definitely is, I think. And helping people through the things that you've also struggled with yourself, so you can really relate to them on what they're currently going through. So I think that's it for me.
Yeah, I think it's sharing your experiences with individuals and, that kind of helping them to sometimes get through things or work through problems. I think the people are key. I think looking at our team till most recently, like we'd not lost anybody for 2.5 years. That's absolutely crazy. If you look at like statistics, we'd expect to lose probably 2-3 a year given the size of the team. The design team health survey, hearing stuff come back through that were, some of the questions we ask about, do you like this? I think there's one question where we say like, do you feel supported within the team? And like it's top marks across the board, so I think that is the rewarding bit. The interesting thing as well is it's not all smooth. Like there are difficult times, and when you get through those challenging times, whether that's working with somebody at a personal level or whether it's working within a project space, that is really, really rewarding. Like you feel like you've won when you do stuff like that.
Big cheer. Cool. So we are actually coming up on time, but there's a couple of little questions I just want to kind of get out here before we do leave. So as someone who's kind of obviously I'm at the stage of my career where I'm starting to kind of think about design leadership from this perspective, it's becoming a little bit more prevalent in the kind of things I'm doing, like both in and outside of work. What advice would you give to someone who's like maybe transitioning into design leadership or is thinking about going for like, yourself, you said there that X amount of years ago you wouldn't have ever thought you'd be in this position, and here you are now. What advice would you give to someone who's...
Yeah, never say never. I think that's one that's come out of today. And I think for me, it's a key kind of thing for you to do is really understand. You should be at a point where you understand yourself. So you'll know where your strengths are. Yeah. You'll know what comes naturally to you, and be true to those. Don't try and be something you're not. So you'll find like I'm probably we have the what's the chart thing? I'm having a brain fog moment. These happen. We're disc profile. That's it. So but as you kind of grow with experience, you can shift around that, can't you? You can go over to an area that you're not normally, but I think being true to yourself and drawing on those things that come naturally, those skills that come naturally to you, is just like really important, I think.
Yeah, I'll echo everything Tracy just said, really. It's be authentic, stay true to yourself. Don't over stress your weaknesses. You just be proficient, I guess, in your weakness, but you like really double down on your strengths and what makes you, I'd say. Yeah.
Anything I'd add, just keep learning as well. Like that's really important with myself. I feel like, we're in digital. Well, not just digital now, it's offline as well. So things are changing all the time. So, keep learning and it'll help you. I think the other thing for me as well is like the listening side of stuff. I think that's so important as well. It's a skill I probably would have done more in the past sooner if I'd realised the importance of it. So
yeah, and I think as leaders you can still have mentors of time served managers as well. That's a really good thing to have, that support from other managers and kind of just to help you through. I mean, you manage early careers, don't you? I mean, early careers is an interesting one because you would look at an early careers individual and think, to manage, that's a good opportunity for perhaps a new manager. I'd probably disagree with that a little bit, because actually there's a lot goes into managing an early careers individual. You know, really now over the years, we've probably learned that, you know, make sure that if you are putting someone on who's going to line manage an early careers person, then they have got that support in place to kind of lean on as well. But yeah, I think so making sure, true to yourself, you've got good kind of mentors to support you, and the relationships are there to do that as well. And yeah, don't be like you said, don't stress too much if you can. Like, yeah,
Give yourself time.
Give yourself time.
Yeah. I think it's one thing I come across is people seem to feel like it needs to happen now.
Yeah.
It needs to be now, and if it's not in the next 2 months or something, then it's not happening. And it's like just there's an element of just relaxing into it. I think let it happen.
Yeah, I think like Lee being new to the business as well, I think it's a bit similar, isn't it? Like, don't rush to action too much, you know, like get to know things a little bit more, build those relationships with individuals, because key to a good manager relationship is taking time and building that. There might be moments where you have to have difficult conversations, you know, so I think navigating that relationship is key to management as well. I think as a mum as well, I have to often say to myself, when to stop with the like the support. Like you can lean in, but then you can quickly work out if someone's all right to crack on, you know, let them crack on. So it's all those different things, comes with experience, you know, but just enjoy the ride, and don't
Enjoy the ride.
Yeah, don't be too hard on yourself.
Well, it's really my next tattoo, that, I think. Right, well, that is us. We're at time. So again, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been really, really interesting episode. If anyone wants to reach out to you, I guess they can find you on LinkedIn or something. Just search them up. If you've got any follow-up questions. So yeah, thanks again for tuning in. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Remember to hit the notification button so you never miss an episode. You can follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and see you for another episode. Peace out.